Welcome back, everybody. So in the last video, we learned about the concept of multi-tenancy and we learned what is a tenant. And in this video, Jacob is about to tell us how can you get started with it with a Hello World example. So Jacob, over to you.
All right, thanks, Niharika. So yeah, in the last video, we were talking about how there's 7 modules here. And so in this video, we're going to explore the first one, which is the most simple example. And what it is a Hello World module listed right here. It's first, in the upper left quadrant here. And what you do to interact with the module, we have this sort of playground so you can interact with each of the modules individually. And how you interact with one of the modules is you click on this view button underneath the module. So we're going to dive into the Hello World example here. And you're going to get a little title of like what the module is called, maybe a short description. In this case, the description is just Hello World, since it's pretty simple. And what you're going to see is a bunch of what we call action cards. These are each of the little rectangles that you'll see here. So this one is instance, this one is get client tenants, each of these sort of subsections. And so what Hello World really aims to achieve is to try and teach you, what tenancy really is and how each of the tenants sort of owns their own data. And so in this example, what we're going to do is show you that if an account or a tenant has its own, instance, then it can get a greeting back. And so what we'll do is we'll say, okay, so we're going to assign from, let's just say, in this example, we're going to use Alice just because Alice is a normal user. And we're going to say, okay, we want Alice to create her own tenant. So we're going to click the submit button. And if we wait for a second, it's going to run a transaction on the blockchain to give Alice her own tenant. So she is now a quote unquote tenant of the Hello World module. So you can think of this as her owning her own data and the like. So if we scroll down here.
Is this action, creating an instance, very similar to how you would probably sign up for Google Docs and then start using it? So creating an instance, is it analogous to signing up for the service?
Exactly. So in the case of Google Docs, like we were using in the last video, this is the equivalent of me making my own account and me being able to use Google Docs now with all of my own documents and my own data and stuff like that.
Perfect.
So exactly. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to do now is scroll down. We're going to skip the middle one for now. We'll come back to that. And we're going to skip down to where it says greeting. And so we're going to click on the Alice account. And because of the fact that we actually just created our own tenant, we can click on this view button, and view means we're submitting a script which just reads stuff from the blockchain, and it will return our greeting, which is Hello World. So we've done it. Now, let's see what happens if we were to run this account from Burball, for example. So if we were to run this from Burball, then, spoiler alert, it shouldn't work because Burball doesn't have, his or her own data. So if we click view, we'll say this account does not own a tenant, and rightfully so, because that account doesn't have that yet. But if we were to run this from, Burball and create a own tenant for the Burball account, then when we submit this, it'll return a transaction hash. And if we were to go back down here and click view again, you'll see that it now returns a Hello World. Now, the last thing that I kind of want to introduce is this middle one, which is called get client tenants. And really what this does is this just returns what we call the tenant ID of each of the accounts. Now, this will never, ever be necessary. You will never have to know what this is. So don't worry about this if you don't understand it, but we put it here just because we think it's pretty cool and that you can actually view the ID of each of the account's tenants. So for example, if we click view on Alice, it'll return this complicated string that represents what the ID for Alice is, but you never have to worry about this. So whenever you see this action card in any of the modules, you can simply ignore it, or if you think it's cool, you can view the ID. And just for those that are interested, the ID is what's being used to actually separate the data for each of the accounts. So this sort of concludes the Hello World module. If you have any questions, then please feel free to reach out to us or in the comments of this video.
Perfect. Or also drop by in our Discord and we'll be happy to help you. So thanks a lot, Jacob, and see you guys in the next video. Bye.